and we're going to find out about what they do over there in Crowley, Louisiana. So welcome, John and Monte. I'm so glad
Thank
y'all
you.
could come and bring a lot of wonderful models that we can see and that you can kind of help us understand how this whole thing goes together. So welcome. I guess to begin with, let me just start with John. You're the president, and Monte, you're a member of the
Just a
club.
member.
What is it? What is the Rice Area Modeler Society anyway?
We're a group of people that have gotten together, formed a club, and we enjoy flying radio control, model helicopters, airplanes. We run boats. We have a few members that have cars. Uh, Anything that you can do in radio control, we do it.
You build them.
We build them, we fly them, we
You
run
race
them,
'em,
race them, we compete with them. You name it, we have a group of people that'll do it.
So people are interested in participating in this. Can they do that?
Yes.
So
yes.
what do you have to do to be a member of your?
You just get in touch
organization?
with us and we bring you out to the field. We find out what your main interest is, whether it's a helicopter, an airplane, a boat, and we take it from there. We see one, how do you want to start? You want to start small? Do you want to jump right into a little bit larger airplane or a helicopter? A lot has to depend. It depends on how much you want to spend. You can get into this hobby as little as $400 with good equipment. I'm not talking about going to a Target or a Walmart and getting a little radio control helicopter.
That's kind of your baby step. That one is.
Yeah, well, you do that and it hits the wall and it breaks. Well, you're done.
Okay. Yeah, you don't like it anymore.
This one, it hits the wall. You go to the hobby shop, you buy the parts and you fix it and you continue on with your learning.
Okay.
There's one thing about all of these. Somewhere buried in the fuselage is an expiration date.
Meaning what?
Sooner or later, you fly that long enough, you'll find that expiration date on that helicopter. It will crash.
Okay.
It can. It just depends. This one is several years old. Uh, Things go wrong. Engines will quit. Radio will fail. And then you got to learn how to rebuild.
So you're never through, are you?
You're
never
never
just
through.
get to sit and rest on your laurels
never
and say,
through.
"I have made the perfect machine. I'm good forever." That's not
I
gonna
did
happen.
that up until the first flight.
That was it.
That was it.
Well, John, how did you get into this? I mean, it's a really fascinating.
You
huge
know,
hobby.
years ago, all I could remember is loving airplanes of all sorts. We had a big black oscillating fan that I would sit behind when I was 4 or 5 years old and pretend I was flying an airplane.
And you do that now, actually.
I do that for a living. And from there, I was building the little plastic models. And from the plastic model airplanes, I went to the balsa wood model
I remember all
that
those.
you would fly in a circle control line. And then Monty, he's my first cousin,
And the
was-
culprit, really, the
was flying radio control. And I got into it from watching him, and he taught me how to fly years ago. And then from that point, it took me to learning how to fly the real aircraft, and later becoming a full-scale pilot, and that's now my profession.
and never letting go of the love of the models.
And I have to say that back in high school when I was doing this, there's a lot of drugs and alcohol and stuff, but every dime that I ever had went to this. There was no, what am I going to get to drink? Can I get a six-pack? No, I had no spare money because it all went to this. And we try and emphasize the family coming out to the field, father and son, have the wife.
Mother and daughter.
Mother and daughter. We have wives that come out to the field and they fish in our pond. We have a runway that's 700.
I was gonna ask you what
We
that
have a runway out there that's grass. It's 775 feet by 100 feet wide for the airplanes and helicopters. We also have a seaway that is 100 foot wide by 700 feet long that we use to run the boats and also fly float planes. But we also stocked it with fish for the little kids and the wives if they want to fish while the husband is flying his model.
So is this kind of like a guy thing?
No, not really. We try not. If you look at it, there's predominantly men in it, but There's a lot of women that
'Cause
participate.
I'm thinking that I could probably do this.
Of course.
Doesn't look too hard. Just looks challenging.
Well, I can set you up.
We're going to see about that.
And it all has a learning curve.
That's it.
It's not complicated. It's kind of learning to coordinate your
I think it's not a finesse.
one side and
huh?
the other. There's a lot
It's
of
a lot of
finesse
finesse.
to it. The biggest problem with people that start out on their own is setting it up. If you put too much throws, too much control, things like this in it, it becomes so sensitive it's almost impossible to
Yeah.
fly. So all of our members' time is spent helping new people get started by helping them set it up right, give them a good chance to get started right, and working with them to get used to it until they get to flying on their
So they can
own.
become
I can
proficient.
tell
Sure.
you one thing: the people that go out there and buy this and say, "I can do this all by myself," the expiration date in that model is going to be about 45 seconds into the first flight.
You're not going to love it, are you?
You're going to just waste your money.
Okay. So it really
Waste
is
it.
important to have a group to help you kind
To
of
help
work
out.
through.
That's what a club is
initially.
for.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's what your club does.
Yes,
Yes.
definitely.
Okay. So Monte, you kind of like started him on all this. So how did you get into it? Was it just something you grew up doing?
When I was young, 6, 7 years old, my father built a free flight model in my bedroom at home. And we went out and launched it, and it did a loop and crashed immediately
And
into
you
a
were
bunch
not
of pieces.
discouraged at all.
And then we decided we needed control over the thing instead of just letting them fly free. And he bought a Tester Skyhawk, which was a little pulse channel, single engine, little single control plane that we learned to fly on. Had a blast with it. And about that time, they came out with the proportional radios, which gave you so much more control. And we kind of progressed into that and bigger planes. And for quite a while, my father and there were 3 other men in Lafayette that were trying to learn to fly. And they would go out and work all week building a plane, go out on the weekend, and they'd all crash. And on Monday, they'd all show up at this one man's office. They'd call the factory and order 4 more planes and have them shipped in on the bus, and then they would build all week to go fly again on the weekend.
There's a huge
And
lesson in life in there, isn't it?
It took perseverance, but they finally figured out how to overcome it, and then started helping other people, and the sport really grew in Lafayette. We had a large club that was very active, and now, as I understand, there's about 3 or 4 local clubs in the general Lafayette area,
Yeah.
Crowley, Lafayette, New Iberia, and stuff.
Yes.
So it's very active.
I've seen some of the clubs and some of the work that they do, but I've never seen anything like you all have here. I mean, I am just floored by the work that you've
We're
done.
a little bit different with our club. I'm not taking anything away from any of the
No,
other
just
clubs because
toot
they're all
your own horn.
fantastic. But we have a very small group of people, roughly around 20, 23 members. But it doesn't matter what you're into, whether it's jets, helicopters, scale helicopters, small helicopters, boats, someone in our small group will know how to do it and do it fairly well. We have people that can take a pile of wood and turn it into something.
I want to talk about a pile of wood that got turned into something. I was going to start with the helicopter, but I'm going to start with the boat.
Mhm.
And we're going. Can you hold this up for
Sure.
us, Monte? This boat was a pile of wood.
It came in a box that was about 30 inches long by 12 inches wide by 4 inches thick.
And you all made this boat.
And
You made this boat.
I made this boat, yes. There
So-
were about 10 of us that bought kits, and they all came to my shop, and we built every one of them. This boat here, there's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 80 hours of work,
Okay.
80 to maybe more. By the time you take all the wood, sand it down, make sure you have a nice fit, glue it together. There's a lot of shaping involved. This nose piece up here was a block of wood that was about this thick, that long, and all the way across, and you had to
Plane it
sand,
down.
plane
Wow.
it down and sand it to shape. There's a lot of work.
And this actually is water worthy, right? You put this in the water and you.
We have, like I said, we have 8 or 10 guys that in the beginning we went out to our field and would race them a little bit.
How does it do?
It does well.
What kind of little motor you have? You have a little motor back here.
This is a glow engine. This is an OS Max. I believe that's a 55 two-stroke engine. It runs on a specific fuel. It's a glow fuel with nitromethane in it, and it'll push the boat along the water roughly about 40 miles an hour. If it gets any faster than that, the wind gets under it and it'll flip over, and you have to go out and get it.
But that's the only problem is it just goes too fast. It just can't.
It can go too fast. Yeah.
And this is kind of a fun thing. Airboat, they have scale copies of like the Miss Budweiser hydrofoils, and they have outboards where the motor actually looks like a scale outboard motor. There's a lot of different versions that you can buy and get into, and different sizes. Some are really large, like this table. Some are smaller. It just all depends on what you like. It's a personal preference.
So there's something for every
Sure.
preference in this.
Every pocketbook, every taste,
Every passion.
Every passion.
I gotta get to the helicopter because I think our 26 minutes is going to get fast. And I mean, this is just an amazing. You built this, right?
No, actually, a man in Texas built this one. His name Fred, and he does an unbelievable job.
That's
I have
amazing.
one of these at my house in a kit, but it doesn't look anything like it right now. Mine's all white.
But will it one day look like this? Maybe.
Hopefully, yes,
Maybe.
because I plan on bringing it to the nationals and competing in scale competition.
So what is this? This is a scale helicopter.
This is
right?
a scale helicopter.
What does that mean?
It's a miniature version of the real helicopter. This is
the
an Army
T.
Cobra helicopter.
Okay.
And they still fly the Cobra today. It's a different model than this, but this particular helicopter was modeled after one real helicopter. In order to compete, you take pictures of a specific helicopter all the way around, and then you go home and you replicate that in the model.
So
All the way down to the rivets, any blemish that's on it, the oil streaks that are on it, everything. I've seen some where when the control surfaces move, the man inside is moving a stick. When the Gatling gun down at the bottom moves, which this one does move, the head will follow the Gatling gun just like the real one. It's what they call super scale.
Meaning everything has to be perfect.
Everything
the amount
has
of
to be
detail is meticulous on them.
Well, I don't know if we can get a close up. We have a close up of the men right now in the cockpit, but if you could really, really see, there's an insignia on the patch, even.
Yes. Yes.
Let's see if we can get in on that.
And the lights on this one work.
Can we turn them on?
We can turn it on.
We're going to turn on these lights and see what this helicopter looks like lit up. Now, you can't get a kit for this, right? You just have to take pictures of a real helicopter.
You get most of them, they have a beginner's, a basic kit. What you do with that kit and the amount of detail you add into it is up to you.
And I'm thinking, there's a lot of creativity in this too. It's got to be in the zone when you're doing this kind of work.
And there are people that build planes, competition planes and stuff of their own design. They'll take just a box of wood that they buy at the store and sit there and design it and build it and carve it out and assemble it and fly it and paint it. And there's a lot of that.
And you can see the control surfaces moving here.
Yeah,
the tail rotor in the back that moves back and forth. You've got all the lights. The Gatling gun down underneath of the nose.
Okay, we're going to get some shots of all of these different. Okay, now we're going to go to the Gatling gun. Look at that. Wow. Wow. That's amazing.
It is.
And now, do you compete with these? I mean, not just to make sure that they're perfectly made, but you actually fly them in the competition.
Yes, it's mandatory that this particular helicopter, there's probably 300-400 hours easy.
Oh, I can imagine.
Into this, and you go out to compete. You've got to fly. You've got to do certain maneuvers, and you take the risk. If you put it in the air, it can easily come down in a bad kind of way. Yeah, that expiration date shows up.
Is gonna happen.
But this one's several years old, and Fred did an unbelievable job.
You really
with it.
did. I am amazingly impressed. Now, when you take these, I don't know if you have some diagrams with you that you brought for the like the.
As far as the
like, not
competition
this
for the airplanes,
Yeah.
yes.
Not for that. Now, what we're looking at is not for the helicopter, but we have an airplane up here. Would this competition be for an airplane like?
Very similar to that. That's a smaller version. That's just something that you would
I'm gonna
go
get
out
a
and
shot
fly.
of this plane in just a second.
But I
Yeah,
have
okay.
one that's a lot larger than this. Looks very similar, but a lot larger.
And this plane is just one that you could fly and compete with, right?
Yes. You won't compete with this one because it's just
too
not.
little.
It's too small.
Okay.
The wind would affect it way too
Okay.
much.
I'm going to hold this up. This is this plane, but this is a propeller that could be for your plane, right? That,
A large scale 3D airplane.
and can we go back to the other shot? Because if you look at the bottom of that full shot, we're going to see the plane again. I'm just going to show the sizes of the propellers, how different they are.
Yes.
Because this is more of a plane for competition.
For 3D aerobatics, yes.
Okay.
Large scale competition, yes.
Okay.
What they call it IMAC.
Okay.
But this is a 32-inch prop. The length of it is 32 inches. That prop is probably 8
See,
inches.
we're looking at this propeller right here. Okay, so that's the difference.
Yes.
Okay, so these.
Being that, and this airplane that uses this prop is also over 10 feet long.
Okay, proportion the thing out, right?
Yes.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
Take the 8 inches to the 32 inches and blow up the rest of it.
you got it.
Okay. Let me see this. We're going to hold up this diagram. You're going to tell us what we have here. Okay. This is what, if you were out there in the field and you were doing some competition, these would be the maneuvers that this big plane would have to go
That's
through?
called, yes, that's called an arrestee.
Okay.
It just kind of shows the pilot what he needs to accomplish.
So what do you have to do on this one?
This one, it shows that you take off. First maneuver is, after that is a stall turn with 3/4 roll up, 1/4 roll down. You come out, it goes into a shark's tooth, which is a 45-degree line, 2 points on a roll, and then you come straight vertical and go back the other direction. Then you have a slow roll. Then the next one is a half square with a 1/4 roll, half roll up. Then after that, it's a Cuban 8 from the top. And
You're
then
reading hieroglyphics here, guys.
it's,
You know, so
there's a lot to it.
so when you go out and you're having the competition, it's not just does your plane fly and can you make it do some tricks. You have to do specific
You
things.
have to do
Precision.
specific things in a specific area.
Okay.
You've got what they call a box. You have a pole on this side, which is out 60 degrees, and a 60-degree pole here, and then you have a center pole. Everything has got to be centered on that center pole. If
There's
you
a
do
lot of
2
skill in
rolls,
this, isn't
one
there?
roll on one side, one roll on the other, it's hard. You know, the average guy that goes out and flies, he has a good time. He pushes the sticks around and plane does what he wants it to do. But when you want to do 3 loops identical in the same flight path, now you're getting into difficult maneuvers.
And that's the kind of stuff that y'all are doing
That's
out
what
there.
we
And
do.
that's the kind of thing you could teach other people how to do.
We love to do that. We try all the time to get new members to come out and join us and bring the family, the father and son. You know, if the father joins the club, if the son is under 18 living at home, they're free.
Okay. And
we
this
don't-
really is about family values
It
to
is.
a large extent,
Sure.
isn't it? I mean, look at your cousins and your father started with you, and it's just it kind of becomes a part of a family tradition.
Some good quality time with
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
children.
Now, can just anybody come by and watch you guys? out there?
Anybody. It's free.
Sure.
If our gate is open, you come on back. Our
Oh,
club
wow.
is just 1.7 miles north of the East Crowley exit.
Okay, so get off the
That's-
East Crowley exit.
Exit 82, and you go north. That's away from Walmart.
Okay.
You go north 1.7 miles, and the field is on the left-hand side. We have a huge sign. We change it out for the competitions. We've got a scale helicopter competition coming up in October. 2 weeks later, we've got a precision aerobatic competition. So we have specific signs for those events for the pilots
So
to find
people
the field.
can and know what's coming up
Correct.
by going
Correct.
by. Do you have a website? If somebody wanted to just keep up with what's happening?
It's www.rams, that's R-A-M-S, rcflyers.com.
Okay.
And on that website, you can, There's a contact information there for as a phone number and email, and it comes to me, and I'll be more than happy to get you started.
Okay.
And if I can't, I can find another member in the club that'll meet with you.
Okay. So if somebody did want to join, are there membership dues or anything like that?
Yes, right now our club dues are for the remaining of this year, because we've already,
We're already
halfway.
halfway
It's
into the year.
$50. Normally it's $75, but we do require that you're a member of the Academy of Model Aeronautics, which I'm the associate vice president for AMA for Louisiana. I try and make all the events that I can when I'm not working, and then I go to the AMA website and post what I've found and all the people and the friends that I've made. But you have to be a member of AMA,
Okay.
because it gives you liability insurance, and that covers up to $1 million.
Which is a big deal.
It is,
I
and
mean-
it's $58 a year for the AMA, and with that comes the insurance and a magazine that comes to your door monthly, which covers everything in radio control.
So radio control is about, I mean, it includes cars too, right? You didn't
Yes.
do any cars, but
Yes.
it's any of the models that you can build that are then operated by the radio remote, right?
Yes.
So has there been a lot of change very quickly in the technology since, say, Monte, when you started?
Oh,
Is
it's
it
amazing,
different?
amazing. We started off with radios with, you'd wind a rubber band and that would work the radio. And while you're flying, if the rubber band became unwound, you no longer had any control over your plane.
So,
And that was the first, planes. They'd either fly off in the wind or it would crash. And it moved to read, which was a control that just moved the surfaces to the limit. And you'd pulse it, the switch with your hands to control instead of, you'd just bump it. And that
Okay.
would give you, and you could make slow turns if you were good enough at it. But you had to coordinate bumping 4 or 5 switches at one time to fly. And it took a lot
sounds
of
like taxiing these days.
dexterity,
Yeah.
But it had-
And then proportional came out, and proportional is the more you move the stick, the more the surface moves. The harder it turns, the more it pulls up. So you can do gentle climbs, or you can do severe climbs, loops, things, rolls,
So you're going
stuff
from
like
that
that.
toggle bar, or that little thing right there to
Right.
having a lever. Okay.
And it drives like a car. The more you turn it, the steeper the turn, or the dive, or the climb, and then nowadays they've integrated what we call PLCs, or computers, into the radios. And the old days, everything, if you wanted to reverse a servo, you had to buy a servo that turned in an opposite direction. There was no switching it from one way to the other. Or you had to hook the control rod to the other side of the arm, things. Everything was mechanical. You had to make it just right for it to work. Now you put everything in the plane and you can turn it on, and if the computer screen comes up, you can reverse the servos, you can set the amount of travel, you can set exponentials where it's not very sensitive at the close to center, but the further out you get, the more sensitive it gets. There's so many things. You can mix controls so that when you do a certain maneuver, you give it one control and it actually mixes in 2 or 3 different functions into that to make that maneuver look just perfect. There's so many things you can do with these radios nowadays. It's just amazing.
So it's just exponentially getting more refined.
Oh,
I
yes.
guess would be the word, because it sounds like any of it's great fun. It's just you can
It
do
is,
more
sure.
with more refinement.
And some of the planes and stuff have, like John's helicopter has the little Gatling gun. There's controls that control it. A lot of the planes have retractable landing gear, flaps, all kind of different functions that come out, to make it just more scale or more realistic, things
as
like
we
that.
go along, and you have a small. I just wanted to show the little small helicopter just as a matter of size. And does this one fly, John?
This one does fly. Actually, this is a little TRX 250. It's electric. And all of this stuff, even something this size, you can make that electric instead of gas. That
Okay.
uses like a weed eater engine, but you can make it electric. This is not your normal little off-the-shelf helicopter. You need to build it, and it's fully aerobatic. It can loop, it can roll, it can fly inverted.
So we have like about 30 seconds, but I just wanted to end with this one because it's
Okay.
really kind of fun and it kind of shows that you can be small, you can be big, you can do all kinds of things. Very quickly, if someone wants to find out more about you guys, they can look on your website. You do have some events coming up in October 8th and 9th. You have the Cajun Scale Helicopter Classic coming
Yes,
up.
it is.
Is that right?
Yes.
And October 22nd and 23rd, the National Aerobatic.
The Cajun Nationals Aerobatic Competition.
Okay, so if people want to come out, it's free.
It's free.
So
We
come-
have concessions there for your convenience. We've got plenty of room for parking. We normally have portalettes. We even encourage people to come out and camp with us.
Okay, so just make a day of it. It would be a day event, I would
Yes,
Okay.
family event.
Okay, so if you want more information, get in touch with them. This is wonderful, great hobby, good for families. Thank you both,
Thank you.
Thank you.
and thank you for watching The Extra Mile.